Yo, failure sucks. Am I the only one? Am I the only one around here that doesn't like to fail? Well, maybe if you're like me, maybe you had your mindset a little bit wrong, because guess what? Failure is actually a step to success. Today on the Legacy Podcast, we're talking about how important optimizing and capitalizing on your failures of the past, how important that is to your future. So before we go anywhere, right now, make sure you share this episode. Make sure you subscribe right now to the Legacy Podcast with your winning coach, Kinsley Jordan, and throw a comment below because I want to hear where you're from and what you're doing in your life so we can bring more great content to you right here on today's episode of The Success of Failure on the Legacy Podcast. It's your podcast for turning dreamers into doers. I'm your host for Legacy, Kinsley Jordan, your winning coach, encouraging you every single week to do what? 3 things? Yeah, that's right. To crush your goals, ignite your dreams, and forge a legacy in your life. This week, I could not be more pumped to talk about failure. And you're probably thinking, why in the world would you want to talk about failure? I'll tell you why. Straight out the gate. I'm not even going to waste your time. The reason why we're talking about failure is because it is probably the most important building block to your future success. Now, before we go anywhere, I got some resources that I want to get to you because understanding your failure really starts off with having a basic balance of your life. So if you're interested in the free resources that we want to give to you right here on the Legacy Podcast, make sure you go right down to the comment section below. You click the link tree. It's going to take you to our website for the Winning Network, and we'll get you connected with your free resource. Just throw your email in there and we'll get you connected right now to the basics of balance. It's our first free resource that we're going to give to you. So don't forget to sign up right now. Also, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do it. Okay, so back to it. Failure. Why is it the building block and the most important piece? Kinsley, I thought success was the most important piece to being successful. Wrong. That's not it at all. If you want to be successful, you've got to be good at being able to work through the failures of your life. I can tell you this firsthand, and any successful person will tell you that failure is an integral part of moving forward. So is feedback. The 2 things that nobody likes to discuss and nobody likes to deal with are getting honest, good feedback and surviving and working and moving to success through the moments of failure. And you may say, well, what do you know anything about failure? You're an Air Force pilot. You're an instructor pilot in the Air Force. You deal with innovation. You have all these successful people on your podcast. Yeah, that's right. Well, guess what? The first time I applied to the Air Force Academy, I did not get in. In fact, I got a congratulations, you weren't selected letter. Thanks, Academy. I really appreciate that. Alma mater, I still love you. Not only did I not get accepted to the Air Force Academy, but I really didn't do that good in pilot training. I got sick all the time. It was a struggle to go through, honestly. I've had a failing business before that eventually we closed up the shop to. It was a clothing store that I helped my wife with. I got fired from a job before. You know, there's a lot of things that you don't realize about your winning coach that I've walked through my fair share of failure in my life. In fact, when I was younger, my dad got sick because of a failure of a doctor. They either over-anesthetized him while he was having back surgery, or they didn't get the correct level of oxygen. Caused brain damage in my dad, and for 15 years, my mom did a phenomenal job taking care of my dad as I grew up in this place where somebody else's failure impacted my life. So why are we talking about failure today? I'll tell you. So many times, people fall short of the success that they desire because they quit at the first obstacle that comes in their way. Let this point be known to you right now. So focus up. Focus up. Focus up. Okay, do I have your attention? Listen. Success is not defined by the end result. Success is defined by your ability to push through the failures. What I mean by this, so many people look at an end result and say, oh my gosh, you know, I didn't make the money I wanted to make. I didn't get hired into the job that I wanted to get hired into. All is lost. I should just stop. No. When you stop, that's when you truly fail. There have been several times in my life, and I have countless examples of people, executives, business owners, entrepreneurs, visionaries who have gone bankrupt. Not just from one business or 2 businesses. Dave Ramsey, he talks about being bankrupt several times in his life, that he's had businesses that have failed. But it's this principle that failure only exists if you stop at the result that you didn't want. Success is taking that next step past the failure that you've had. And I know there's a lot of us who have looked at our lives and said, I didn't think I was going to end up here. But the one thing you got to realize is that your success in the future of where you go and what you do and the goals that you have and the things you want to accomplish literally starts right now. I have one of my clients, one of my really good friends, a friend that turned into a client, I guess you could say. But they were really frustrated. In fact, they were really broken because they had worked so hard on this project. They'd worked so hard at this opportunity, this internship that they had applied for. And to be honest, man, their work, it was immaculate. I'm talking, it's so delicious. They did phenomenal work. One of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. And they worked really, really hard for almost a year to be able to get into this internship, only to be denied. And they were absolutely crushed. In fact, they just wanted to give up completely on the dream. But it was a moment that we had with them where we were just sitting and talking about what kind of led to the events of where they're at now, that this realization really clicked in their mind was this, is that every failure is just one more stepping stone to success. And I know it sounds like a really cheesy thing to say, and oh my gosh, like how in the world are you the winning coach? Because this is just trash info. But I'm serious. I'm not kidding. Every moment of failure you have is one more step towards your success. If you don't believe me, believe Orville and Wilbur Wright. And I know I use this example a lot. Believe Thomas Edison. How many failures? I mean, you can go to literally right now, you can go to Google, you can look at it, and you can see all of the quotes of Thomas Edison about, every experiment, every failure that he had was one more step to success. I'm not the only and first person to say this. I'm just the person to tell you right now, no matter where you're at, no matter what situation you're looking at, no matter how frustrated or heartbroken you are in the moment of what appears to be failure, I'm telling you, that is just one step towards your success. So the first point that you got to take away from today is this, is that failure is not defined by the end product or the end destination. Failure is defined by whether or not you stop at that failure or whether you move forward. Point number 2 is this. When you truly have a moment where things don't go like you want them to, when you truly have a moment like us, when we had our failed business, it was a clothing line, boutique, man, it did not go well. It didn't go It didn't go well. Frankly, it wasn't because of economy or anything. It was because at that moment, I had no idea what I was doing running a business. I really didn't. I've learned a lot since then. But when those moments happen and those times happen where you find yourself in a place that you're just frustrated about what's happened or you're frustrated with the results, here's the most important piece to be able to do. The second most important part of today is this. Re-identify what success looks like. Don't be defined by the end result. Simon Sinek book, he's one of my favorite authors. He has this awesome book. It's called Infinite Game. And one of the things he talks about is how so many people get this mindset of winning incorrect. And this is, really odd because I'm your winning coach. I'm your coach to help you to get to a place of winning. But this is what you've got to realize is that winning is not defined by a location. Winning is not defined by a result. Winning is defined by continuing to work through the process and learning to appreciate the process of continuing to get better, to work harder, to get better results. It's the process is the win. It's not the end destination. So the second point of asking yourself, what does success look like? What does it look like to have to work hard to the end result? Where do I want to go? What does success look like in the end? When you have a failure, the most important thing you can do is stop, go back and ask yourself, okay, I'm going to learn from this lesson, but what does success look like? And where do I need to go from here? We're going to talk about the next 2 tips because there's 4 tips total today when we're talking about how to succeed in your failure. 2 more tips that we're going to come back and talk about when we come back from this quick break. Again, don't hesitate right now. Share this with your friends, the Legacy Podcast, right here with your winning coach, Kinsley Jordan. Thanks for staying tuned. Yo, thanks for watching the Legacy Podcast right here with your winning coach, Kinsley Jordan. And if you don't want to miss out on the awesome content we have for you each and every week, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right over there and the bell to get the notifications every time we got a new episode just for you. Don't forget to hit it. Also, if you want to follow along with me, make sure that you follow along on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Kinsley Jordan as I push out new content each and every day to make sure that you're staying encouraged to crush your goals, ignite your dreams, and forge a legacy in your life. Which brings me to the point. If you're looking for a performance coach to help you not only build healthy habits in your life, but really draw out a plan of connecting you to your passion for a purpose to create fulfillment in your life, then don't miss out for the chance for me and my team to be your performance coach. You can go to www.kinsleyjordan.com, get signed up right now, and we will reach out to you for a free, yeah, I said it, free consultation to be able to determine how we can get you very quickly and very soon on your path to high-performing success in your life. Stay tuned. We're going right back to the Legacy Podcast. Yo, welcome back to the Legacy Podcast, where we're talking about succeeding through failure. And I know I'm not the only one that's failed in my life. If you are just tuning in, you'll have to go back and watch the first half because I rattled off a lot of examples of when I've failed in my life. But here's the deal. Failure to me is only one step closer to success. Failure is never meant to stop us at all. In fact, failure should be the building blocks of what our future success is built upon. Don't let something stop you just because it didn't end up the way you wanted it to end up, but instead use that as the propellant to your future success, future achievements, future goals as we continue moving towards what success looks like in our life and that fulfillment, that God kind of fulfillment that we all desire. So the two more points that we got to cover is this, of our venture into the 4 steps of success, if you will. Step number 3 is this: get feedback. Honestly, what point does failing have if we don't learn from it? Honestly, how many people have gone through something terrible in their life, or gone through a failure, or gone through something that they wish they'd never have to go through again, but then they don't learn anything from it? That's the definition of idiocy, is to go through the same thing over and over and over and expect different results. You're not going to get different results if you don't learn from what's happened in the past. So step number 3 is this: get feedback. If you're involved in a bad business, for example, the business that we had that failed, the best advice I could ever give is when I went back and asked some friends and asked some business leaders around the area of how do you have a successful business? Because, once everything was paid off and everything was closed up and the store was closed, I wanted to figure out why in the world had we failed? What had we done wrong that didn't lead to success? Because there was people who would come in the store and they would purchase clothes, and they liked the store and they liked the idea of what it was, and they were clients. They enjoyed it. But we didn't do a good job of managing it and putting it together at the time because there were some principles that we had to learn that we had not yet learned. So when you are looking for feedback, you've got to go to people who have been successful in the area that you want to be successful in. You got to go to people who have been in that business or in that area of what you want to do. So for example, if you fail at a test, this is a simple example, but if you fail at a test, would it make any sense to go to somebody who also failed the test and ask them for feedback? No. They're just going to be sorry company for you. What you should do is go to the person who actually got an A on the test. So why would it be any different in our lives if we are going through an area that's a challenge or we're going through failure? Why would we go to other people who have never succeeded in the area that we're trying to succeed in? It makes no sense at all. But for a lot of us, that's exactly what we've done. So you have to get feedback. You have to get valuable feedback. You have to get constructive feedback. You have to get feedback that's going to enable you to go in and approach this failure again and succeed at it this time. That's a critical step. Don't keep doing the same thing over and over and over. It's insanity. Okay, all right, enough about that. Step number 4, probably the most important piece you could ever do, is this. You have to get help. You got to get help. Nobody who is successful has done everything on their own. If they say that, I built this entire business on their own, unless they live on a desert island and literally have had no communication and somehow they built a business with nobody else there and it was successful, okay, maybe. But there are the few exceptions in all of the world, because no matter what you do, no matter what your goal is, no matter what business you're trying to start, no matter what venture you're trying to start, no matter what your goal is for success, maybe your success is to be an awesome mom or to be an awesome dad. Well, guess what? You need to get help in it. People, you're not made Awesome. You're not made successful by simply doing things by yourself. No. And this is one of the points I talk about every single time. You've got to be able to get friends. You've got to be able to get family who can surround you. Friends and family and mentors and coaches that have been successful in the areas that you want to be successful in. So, like I used the example of academics. If you're going to school and you aren't doing very well in school, get with somebody who is doing well. If you want to improve your sports, if you're an athlete and you want to get better in a specific sport or you want to achieve a certain level of accomplishment, then go get with somebody or a coach who has seen and succeeded at that level of accomplishment. So many times we look at these superstars and we look at athletes and we look at people who have accomplished great things and we think to ourselves, well, certainly they're not going to have time for me. Well, if you ask them for help, they may say no, but what happens if they say yes to helping you? What happens if you being so bold and so gutsy, if you will, to go out and ask somebody for help that they turn around and say, yeah, I would actually love to help you? What would happen? So many people are afraid of somebody telling them no. Well, guess what? The answer to a question that you never ask is always no. So what do you have to lose? Nothing at all. Ask for help. We have a lot of listeners, a lot of our listeners on the audio podcast, at least, are moms or are women between the ages of 25 and 34. If you have an area you want to be successful, maybe it's being a mom, maybe it's being a woman of business, maybe it's going back to school and getting your doctorate degree, whatever it is, go and find somebody who has done that. And guess what? You don't necessarily even have to know them. What about going to a business that you know is successful, that has a leader that's successful, and sending them an email and say, hey, can I take you to lunch? I'd love to learn more about you. In case you can't tell, this is the foundation of what your winning coach and the winning network is all about. It's about being able to build the connections that are going to be important to you and your success in the future and learning from them. So those 4 simple areas that we've talked about today, all the way through. First, success is not defined by the end result, but instead success is defined by our ability to learn from our failures. That's a massive first point. Nick, good luck in trying to put that beneath in the subtitle. Clearly you're doing a great job of it, but that's a challenge. Success is not defined by the end result. It's defined by our ability to learn through our failure. Step number 2 is asking ourselves, what does success look like? Maybe we had the wrong target. Maybe we had the wrong focus to begin with. When we fail, our step towards success is recaging ourselves, refocusing on what our target and what our goal is, and making sure that we're aligned towards it. Step number 3 is this: get good feedback. It's ridiculous that we would think that we could continue doing the same thing over and over and over and expect different results. As I've said before, that's the definition of insanity. Don't be insane, be sane. Get feedback. It's that simple. And step number 4 is this: get help. Don't think you have to do things on your own. Initially when I started this podcast, for me, there's nothing more important than building a team. And that's what I had to do. First, hired Nick on to start talking about it. And there's been other people that I've pulled into meetings and tried to pull on to the team of the Legacy Podcast and the Winning Network. And some people just didn't stick. It wasn't for them. But other people have stuck. In fact, they've latched on so much to the vision that they believe in it more than I believe in it. And I'm the founder. I believe in it a lot. So get help from people who have the same mindset, who have the same vision, who have the same expectation of success and the goal that you have. And I promise you, I kid you not, I've done this so many times before. For example, there was somebody, a prominent businessman around the local area. He was the president of this local bank. And I didn't have any relationship with him at all. So what did I do? I sent him an email and said, hey, you don't know me, but we have this mutual connection, and they really recommended that I take you to lunch and to be able to learn what it is you do and how maybe I can learn lessons that you've learned in your career moving forward. And you know what they said? Yes, I'd love to. I'd love to take you to lunch. And I was the one inviting them. People are willing to help, but they can't help if you don't give them the chance to. So part of working through failure, part of succeeding in the failure is being bold. You got to be bold. You got to be courageous. You got to step out and be willing to be the original, like we've talked about in the past. Be the original that you are and charge forward into your success in the future. Listen, failure is not something to be afraid of. The faster you become comfortable with failing and comfortable with the idea that things aren't always going to go perfect, the sooner you become comfortable with that idea, the sooner that you start taking serious steps towards success in your life and what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. But you heard it here first, right here on the Legacy Podcast once again. I hope this has been helpful for you. Now, before you go, I need you to do this. I want you to throw down in the comment section below. I want to hear what you want to discuss and what topics you want to hear about. We just heard from one of our subscribers last week that they wanted to hear more about marriage and what's really important in marriage and what's really important in growing in a marriage because they're a newly married couple. Well, stay tuned because that episode is going to be coming up very soon just for you because you asked for it. So in the comment section below, make sure you throw the content that you want to hear because listen, as your winning coach in the Legacy Podcast, I am all about helping you. My whole point is to be able to connect you to your passion for a purpose to create fulfillment in your life. So stay tuned right here. Make sure you subscribe. And thanks again for watching the Legacy Podcast with your winning coach, Kinsley Jordan. We'll see you next time.